Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today what I wanted to talk about was Sam Darnold and this remarkable stat that I found with him under pressure. Before we get started today, I just wanted to mention that you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. Also, if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast, and if you're interested, check out my series, What If Adam Gase Was Never Hired, where I go through and play the New York Jets 2019 season on Madden 20. We got an episode out from last night. We have a new episode coming out on Thursday. It's a ton of fun over there and definitely something worthwhile to check out. So one of the things that Sam Darnold has faced early on in his 2-year career in the NFL with the New York Jets is terrible offensive lines. And that's obviously something that has to do with the roster construction. It has to do with the coaching staff to an extent. And it's unavoidable for Sam Darnold. This year, it should be a little bit different. They went out and drafted Mekhi Becton, 11th overall. They brought back Alex Lewis, who they traded for last year, who was pretty solid. They brought in Connor McGovern to play center. On right guard, they brought in Greg Van Roten, and they signed George Fant to be the right tackle, or to, at minimum, compete with Chuma Edoga for the right tackle spot. Theoretically, that offensive line should be better than what the New York Jets have worked with over the last 2 years. Keep in mind, in 2018, Spencer Long essentially hurt their rookie quarterback by continuously to snap the ball over his head against the Miami Dolphins. It was brutal to watch, but we were subjected to it. Then this year, Ryan Khalil wasn't very good. They tried to pull him out of retirement. It didn't work. The offensive line has just been bad. There's no other way around it. So I was browsing on Instagram, as one tends to usually do, and I stumbled across this post that I will share with you and why it's definitely something important to look at when you're looking at Sam Darnold and evaluating him. 34% is the average number of times a quarterback is pressured. That's league average. So if we are looking at the times that Sam Darnold was pressured at 34% or less, which again, we're looking at an improved offensive line, an improved situation from year over year, Darnold throughout his career is 7-1 in those 8 games. He has a passer rating of 108.3. Obviously, 8 games is a pretty small sample size, but if you look over the course of 2 years, that's about a quarter of his career so far. In games where he's pressured more than average, he's 4-14. So clearly the goal for Joe Douglas, which we thought all along, was to improve the offensive line. Because when you improve the offensive line, you're putting your quarterback in a much more optimal situation to work in. It's as simple as that. So while the talent around Sam Darnold might not have gotten a lot better, if anything, it's got slightly worse, maybe you could argue, with losing Robbie Anderson and replacing him with Brashad Perryman. You bring in Denzel Mims, who hopefully he's a nice piece. If anything, I would say it's a marginal step over. Not much of an improvement as terms of the skill position. Getting Chris Herndon back, that could be huge. Maybe that makes his weapons a little bit more appealing. And you could make that case, and I could probably say, okay, yeah, a healthy Chris Herndon definitely makes a difference. But to me, the biggest thing is not the weapons around him. It's instead the offensive line. And when you go out and improve the offensive line to the extent that which Joe Douglas does this past year, I think that's the reason why Sam Darnold is going to take the leap in year 3 and why we haven't necessarily seen it yet. Do I think he's going to have a 108 passer rating for the entire season? Probably not. But if I expect him to throw to closer to 4,000 yards in a 16-game season, 25 plus touchdowns, get the interceptions closer to single digits, I think that is much more likely to happen this year because of the offensive line situation. So a little Sam Darnold positivity to start your Wednesday off. Hopefully it's a good one. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Let me know what you think of this stat. If it's going to have any impact on the 2020 season, I certainly think it does. So get at me on social media or right in here in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I'll talk to you next time.